how can Stoicism help us approach AI with reason instead of fear? How can we cope with these fast changes where technology might take over our mind, or can we still keep control over our own reason and logic? Join us for this episode.
The Via Stoica Podcast with Brendan and Benny. Powered by viastoica.com, your home for coaching, workshops, quotes, and Stoic content that inspires.
Welcome to the Via Stoica Podcast. My name is Benny, I'm your host. And today we're going to talk about AI and how Stoicism can help us deal with this change, this event that's coming at us at such high speeds where it feels like every day there's something new for us to deal with. And how can we stay in control of our own minds and our own actions? Let's dive into this today. And I think it's an important topic. I've been seeing a lot of comments from people who are against it, who are a big fan, who use it in every day. And some people use it too much. Some people, they want to stay away from it for good reasons, for whatever they are. Some people are terribly afraid of it, and other people are trying to embrace it as part of their lives. And I think Stoicism, Stoic philosophy has a lot of really good tools, a lot of really good insights for us to help deal with this in a better and more balanced way, if you will, because it is part of our life. And, maybe it's strange to think when did it start? Maybe 3-4 years ago, it started to kind of come up and ChatGPT here and there a little bit. And now everybody's using it. And it's crazy. And to see that now it's the part of making videos, part of writing emails. People are using it to write books. People are using it to write whatever, right? And it's interesting to see how fast and how quickly this has evolved and how quickly it's being incorporated in our lives. And a lot of times when change happens this fast and this drastic, which is really happening right now, there's a lot of resistance, right? Especially when you are on the brink of change and some people want to cling on to what they know. They might be the experts in the old technology, and now they suddenly feel left behind because the new one is taking over too fast, and that's where this fear comes from. But really, let's dive into it for a little bit, and let's really look at what AI is, and is it what we're dealing with really AI, right? Is it really artificial intelligence? Is that some even for the next step? Because a lot of these, like ChatGPT, these language models, right? That's what they really are, large language models, where they are using probability and predictability of connecting sentences. And yes, they are learning, right? They are learning from specific languages, but that mainly is a part of seeing how sentences, how texts are usually formed, right? By different people, by different ways, and what kind of language do they use, but also what kind of thought patterns that they have, but whether they are actually already thinking independently, that's for the experts to decide whether that's already there. Maybe it is, but it is a part of, something that feels that it's operating autonomously, but it still needs input, right? It still needs our input for now, at least. Let's see where this is all heading. And yes, there are some things that we need to be mindful of what's happening, but it is important, as the Stoics say, where we have to be careful to add a label, whether it is good or bad, right? As Epictetus said, it's like you're going to prison and that's bad for me. It's like, well, you're going to prison. That it's bad for you, that's something that's added, right? He mentions that in one of the discourses. And now, like, AI is here and that's bad for me. Well, that's something that you've added. We still have our agency, right? We still, for now, if you will, we still have our agency to control our own actions and to make the right choices and to see how to incorporate this new technology into our lives. And personally, from the outset, my opinion, AI isn't a good or a bad thing. It's a tool, something that we can use to our benefit, something that we can also abuse, and also something that can take away our autonomy and take away our freedom if we cling on to it too much, if we let it depend everything that we do. So again, that's up to us. I use AI daily. I use it to check ideas. I use it to do part of my writing and to do the editing and to do the things that I'm not good at. For example, I write my blogs myself, but then I ask ChatGPT to make it more readable, because my writing style isn't necessarily the best way for everybody to read, especially when you're writing a blog for something that people from all over the world want to read. And that's also because I don't consider myself as a natural writer, but I do want to write. It takes a lot of energy for me to write and for me to create those things. And I found a way for ChatGPT to help me strategize, to help me, to give me better structures that helps me learn how to be a better writer, to see if I can make those sentences flow better. And all of these things can benefit. So again, we'll dive into that a little bit. But from my personal opinion, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just a matter of how you deal with it and how you work with it. And that's something that we've got to find a way in, and also what makes you feel comfortable and how you want to use it. But so this is something that has changed. And again, if change happens so fast, then it's usually a shock to the system, especially for people who are stuck in their ways and who find it difficult to accept change and to go with it. And others are very easy with that, embracing the change. And, the younger generations are raised by this. When you're older, the first mobile phone was already a difficult thing to accept. Calculators, I bet they were also difficult to accept because they probably were told as well, oh, now we can't do maths anymore because we are numbing that part of the brain. And in cases that's true, right? But then you have time and energy to spend that mental capability in other parts of life. So let's see where this brings, right? So we're talking about, let's look at the opportunities first, where we want to start. Let's go there and see what the opportunities are that AI brings us. Again, if I look at my work that I do, I'm, doing it mostly by myself, and you've got to have, wear many, many hats. And I'm not an expert in many of things, what they call a master of none, a jack of all trades and master of none. That's how I feel. That's where AI and also other people, support. But AI can help me a lot. I can ask questions. It can guide me to the right places to find the information. I've been doing some coding with it, and it works, right? There's a web page on Via Stoica called Daily Stoic Quotes, where it brings every day a new Stoic quote from the large database that we have. But this is where it really can help you expand on things, really increase your knowledge, really bring out the best of you, but also to help you where, if you know where your weaknesses are. Again, we talk about this in many places, where it's important to know your strengths and your weaknesses, to know yourself, and it can really help you with those parts where, if you want to improve and if you want to find ways to deal with them better, that's where it really gives us the opportunities, right? And again, AI isn't external. AI is something that is in the world. It's not going to go away. So it's for us, it's for you and me to learn how to use it in the best way that aligns with nature, with reason, with our own lives, with how you want to use it and what you want to use it for. And again, a big part of what we want to improve in life is to gain knowledge, to know things for sure, to have the right facts. And this is also where we have to be careful with AI, because we can't just assume that it's all correct, right? We still have to keep our critical thinking hat on, and we still have to investigate and check all the information. And, sometimes I use it to give me inspiration for some writing, and it gives me some information about Stoics, some quotes, and then I go and check it and it doesn't exist and it's completely wrong. But at least it's opened my eyes to look for something, to research, to give me that inspiration. But at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to check, to make sure that it's right. But that's what we've got to do with everything. I think social media has taken that away from us. We just blindly accept the information that we receive through the screens from social media. And what's the difference there with AI? If we just say, like, oh, someone said this and they're on a TV screen, on my little screen here, and they must be right. No, we've got to check. We've got to make sure that it's right. We've got to do the investigation ourselves. Otherwise, we can't make the right judgments based on this flawed information. So that's still our own responsibility. And those are the risks. But the opportunities to learn so much more are there. And they're perfect. They're great. So we've got to really take those opportunities and embrace them. So the AI is an external. Let's put that clear. AI is an external. It's an indifferent, right? It's up to us whether we use it in a right or wrong way. And again, we got to find a balance, but there's some risks involved as well when we look at it, right? So some of the risks are obviously that people are afraid of losing their jobs, of being redundant, of surpassing human control, or misinformation, or surveillance, all of these things, right? First, when we talk about the jobs, there's going to be way more new jobs, and it's up to you to change along with it. If you stay in the old way, then yes, you might lose your job. But maybe if you move along with it, there might be new opportunities for you to explore and to expand on. The misinformation, we talked about this a little bit, that's always happening, right? We still have the own responsibility and duty to check the information that we have to go in. But I think one of the biggest risks is that we let it lead our life for us. What interesting thing is I went on a holiday to Portugal a few weeks ago, and I let ChatGPT create the itinerary for me. I said, hey, I'm in Lisbon for a day. I want to go and I want to see the top 10 sites. I have one day. I want to do a walking tour. I can go from this time in the morning till this time in the evening. Give me the best tour. And to be honest, it did a great job. It was one of the nicest city tours I've had. And so fluent, so nice. But if we do this with everything, then it can take away our autonomy of really thinking for ourselves, and we can switch off that brain of investigating, of looking. And even as it gave me all these things, I still looked at, like, okay, what is it, what can I see there? Is this really what I want to go and see? So still we have to keep that agency, and it is really easy to just blindly follow what these AI models give us, and that's where we've got to, take control and be in charge. So again, with AI, we it's up to us how to use it the proper way, right? And people will develop it. It'll keep going, but it's up to us, and we've got to make sure that we give it a proper place in our lives for whatever you're doing, if you use it or not, But if you're not using it because you are fearful, then maybe you've got to open your mind and learn from it. If you're using it too much because you just trust it blindly, maybe you've got to be a little bit more critical to it. And we can look at it from the three disciplines of we can see in Epictetus' discourses, the discipline of desire. Don't cling too much about what's outside of our control. Focus on what you can do, right? Focus on how you can use it. The discipline of assent, don't be carried away with these sensational fears or these blind faith in these things. No, examine it carefully. AI is something that should give us more time to examine these things and to really look at what it means to our lives. And this is the moment to do it. This is the moment, because it's just going to keep moving and it's going to keep going faster. And if you're struggling with it, then take a moment and see, hey, where am I resisting? Where am I going too fast with it? And where should I take a step back and see what this really is? And it's up to us to act responsible, right? The discipline of action. It's still up for us. We still have this moral choice to make. How do I use AI? When do I use it? When don't I use it? That's for us to decide, and still an important part of what we need to do in life. Now, it can also change our identity, where we talked about a previous episode about immigration, where different cultures can reduce our culture or identity, and AI can do the same. It can talk in a certain way, it can write in a certain way, it can show us things in a certain way, and at one point our thought patterns might follow it, might go there. So again, we still need to keep our autonomy there. We can't follow these tools blindly. We've got to keep our own moral choice. And something that I've got to remember is, even if it writes better than me, I still got to make sure that I use my own language and use my own voice, because that's who I am, right? And yes, I can use it to refine, to structure it better, to give me tips and everything, but I've still got to use my own voice. That's something that we've got to keep doing as well. And it's better to make a mistake. Like even with these podcast episodes, I make mistakes, I stumble sometimes, but hey, that's who I am. And that's something that is difficult for me to. This is also the natural way for me to do it, and that's what we've got to keep. We've got to keep our humanity in place as well. Well, we can fuse it. We can use the tools at our ready to make it all better. And I think that that's part of it. So as we start to wrap this episode up, some of the practices that we could use are, for example, we could use the negative visualization, right? The premeditatio malorum. And think about when you have these fears of AI, think about what would happen if you were to lose your job because of it. Think of what would happen if you were to use it for everything that you do. Like if your entire job would be made of AI, and how would you deal with it then? So we can think about these fears, and we can think about, what if AI were to overtake everything? Where do I stand? What is my responsibility there? What is my moral choice there? Think about those things. We can also view it as a view from above, and even go back to the history, the Industrial Revolution, right? The internet, mobile phone, all of these things were feared. All of these things, email, all of these things were feared, and now we are here. Can you imagine a life without a mobile phone? Can you imagine life without Google Maps as you're driving or traveling or whatever? Can you imagine life where you can call people and instantly? There were fears there as well, and it's up to us to steer AI in the same direction, where it becomes an enhancement, not a detraction. And sometimes the mobile phone, yes, with all the social media, it is detracting us, and it's taking us away from life. And there's still a lot of work to do there, right? And you can journal about it. Ask yourself, where did I use it correctly? Whether I didn't use it correctly? Where did I follow it blindly? And don't journal with ChatGPT. Don't let ChatGPT journal for you or any AI tool that you use. But write, think about it. That's part of how we can keep our autonomy, by thinking, by reflecting, because that's something that AI is not going to do for us. Reflect and think about what we're going to do. Anyway, as I start to wrap this up, it is important to remember that AI isn't the enemy, right? AI isn't the bad thing. It's just how we use it. And we've got to be careful. There's a lot of responsibility for us to make sure that we use it in the right way, because this change, this development, this evolution is going to really fast. And before we know it, we won't be able to recognize reality from AI. And maybe AI is a sign for us to be in touch in real life more than online. Maybe it is something for us to come together in communities instead of sticking on the screens, the digital world. And maybe we can combine those two in order to find out what's real and what's not real. And to be more critical about the social media part of it, because that's where we're going to see a lot of these influences coming from AI, maybe images that won't be real. And we've got to be hyper vigilant and critical about those things. But at the end of the day, it's not the enemy. It's a test of our wisdom, a test of our critical thinking. This is just one new episode of life where we can really become better people. And as long as we can evaluate it in the right way and use it in the right way, it's going to advance us ahead. So accept these changes, use it to your benefit with virtue, and face the risks with courage, because they're going to be there. But it's up to us how to face it. Anyway, thank you for listening. And remember, AI can't take away your reasoned choice. That's still something that you have, and that's still something your responsibility and duty to bear. But don't let it take over your life. Use it as a tool wherever you feel fits in your life, and otherwise don't. So thank you for listening. If you like this episode, if you have things to add, if you have some comments, if you think I didn't touch on all the topics, let me know in the comments. I really want to know. Like this episode, like the podcast, leave a rating, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to the Via Stoica Podcast. If you have enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and leaving a review. Your feedback will help us reach more like-minded people on the journey to self-improvement. If you want to get in touch with us or find more information, you can go to viastoica.com, your one-stop platform for all things Stoicism and living better. And remember, virtue is the only good.